how it started. Pyrotechnics much too large for the room ignited highly flammable packing foam that was doubling as soundproofing. With nothing to stop it or even slow it, the inferno overwhelmed the crowd.
It had to be very hot, very fast, and these people had to know that they were burning alive in there.
But what most people don't know is that a simple 19th century technology might have saved every one of them.
These are the men who might be fighting the Iraqis as early as next week. What do they think of the war?
Chemical, that's a scary thing, you know. The guy that's there needs to be taken care of. If we don't do it, who is?
Tonight you will hear from some of the men of Bravo Company who are eager, restless, and on occasion, surprisingly candid.
Sometimes I feel maybe we're not going about it the right way.
The man captured in Pakistan last Saturday, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, was even more important than Osama bin Laden in the planning and execution of the September 11 attacks. And this is the only reporter who ever met him face to face.
Somebody started taking my blindfolds away. I opened my eyes and I realized I was only half a meter away from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
Mohammed admitted that he'd come up with the idea of the attacks himself.
And developed it, planned for it, recruited for it, and executed it.
Therefore, he's the man.
That's right.
I'm Dan Rather.
I'm Bob Simon.
I'm Charlie Rose.
I'm Vicki Mabry.
I'm Scott Pelley. Those stories tonight on 60 Minutes 2.
When my doctor said Zocor was right for me, I stayed with it. Ask your doctor if Zocor could work for you. Zocor. Be there.
Yes, let's stay together.
She says she's Amy from Sears and that they just want to say thanks for being loyal customers.
The Customer Appreciation Sale. Take an extra 15% off clothing, shoes, and jewelry. An extra 10% off appliances, lawn and garden, tools, and more. Now through Saturday. Sears. What else? Introducing a moisturizing shampoo that won't weigh hair down. A shampoo that won't leave it lifeless. A shampoo with weightless moisturizers that go to the center of each strand, while the extra washes clean away. Moisture and lift, the best of both worlds. Shampoos and conditioners with weightless moisturizers, new from Dove.
Sunday, see why this family is now TV's #1 most-watched new comedy.
I'm sorry, you're having sex. We'll be back in 4 minutes.
My Big Fat Greek Life. Then, the rumors are flying.
Becker's got all kinds of drugs in his apartment.
Becker's a druggie.
I was right, he's a drug addict.
Who the hell is this?
Whoops, wrong number.
Becker and Adam West and Burt Ward together again. Find out what happened when the costumes came off.
Has anybody seen my bat suit?
Return to the Batcave after Big Fat Greek Life and Becker's CBS Sunday.
Golly, Miss Marley, look what you've done to Little Richard. These are not Little Richard's shoes.
You have got to see this.
These are all your shoes.
Now she can. With PCS Vision from Sprint, you could do more, like take, send, and receive full-color pictures right on the phone on the largest enhanced nationwide PCS network.
Who took the picture of Little Richard?
Did you get that? It's wild, isn't it?
It's totally wild.
PCS Vision from Sprint. Clearly, a whole new way to look at wireless.
On Survivor, a battle of the sexes is getting downright dangerous.
The piranha will take your finger off.
And it's pushing one woman
I'm just breaking.
to the limit.
I'm so tired.
Shut up.
An all-new Survivor, CBS Thursday.
The number of dead from the Rhode Island nightclub disaster has risen to 98, with 30 badly burned patients still in critical condition. Could anything have saved them? Well, fire experts say yes, a technology that was developed in the 1850s, fire sprinklers. Why didn't the club have sprinklers? Well, the fact is, clubs like it all across the country don't have sprinklers, and the reason may surprise you, especially when you hear fire experts say that no one had to die when the club in West Warwick, Rhode Island, went up in flames. We know how it started. Pyrotechnics much too large for the room ignited highly flammable packing foam that was doubling as soundproofing. With nothing to stop it or even slow it, the inferno overwhelmed the crowd.
It had to be very hot, very fast. And these people had to know that they were burning alive in there.
Chief Jack Chartier and Captains Leo Kennedy and Peter Genite were among the first to face the people pouring out of the club.
People were burning. It was good that we had a tremendous amount of snow around. A lot of people actually were putting themselves out in the snowbanks.
This is just 90 seconds after the fire started. There's the sound of windows smashing. And 10 seconds later, there is the terrible sight at the front door.
There were bodies stacked in the doorway, pretty high, arms outstretched.
It was a human wall, blocking escape.
We had bodies that were stacked 6 and 8 deep. At first we thought it was just right there in the door. And then as we pushed further in, we could see that it went further in and around the corner.
One of the people in that crush near the door was Tammy Passip. She told us that smoke plunged the club into total darkness as she was swept up by the crowd.
We all got stuck in the front door, the front entrance, and then the flames started coming. And it's scary, and I twisted, and I pulled, and people were pulling at me. And then finally the police officer pulled me out. And I had to even tell myself I was not going to die here. I refused to die here.
Within 3 minutes, there was almost no air to breathe. In this side door, you can see the crawl space under the smoke is inches high.
Anybody inside?
Well, the air was just superheated. You know, it was hot. It burned my throat, and I just stopped breathing and held my breath and kept crawling.
Tim Rossano crawled until he found a window to jump through. That's him in the red jacket.
Another 10 seconds, and I would have passed out from lack of oxygen. The one thing I'll never forget is the screams from the people, because it was, you know, you knew that they were screaming for their lives.
The screaming would end in minutes. The building went to the ground with nearly 100 people inside.
Standing there the next morning and the smoke was clearing, and I thought that it looked to me like pictures that I saw in school of the Holocaust.
In 3 minutes, 4,000 years of life expectancy of wonderful young people were extinguished, not because of two boneheads, the pyrotech, but because of a lack of care by our society to do something.
Stanley Chesley says sprinklers would have saved those lives. He's a lawyer who's been in the middle of the biggest fire cases in U.S. history.
This is proven technology that's been available and cheap for over 100 years.
In 1977, there were no sprinklers in the Beverly Hills Supper Club in Kentucky, where 165 were killed. 3 years later, there were no sprinklers in the upper floors of the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas, where 87 died. Chesley sued for victims in both fires. When you saw the images of the Rhode Island fire, what did you think?
I couldn't believe that 26 years later, we haven't learned anything.
If the sprinklers had been installed in Rhode Island, what do you imagine the outcome would have been?
It would have been a very localized fire. And there would have been one local spot where it had caught fire up in the timbers. That's where the sprinklers are. They would have gone off and extinguished it. End of story. Oh, people would have gotten wet. The furniture might have gotten ruined. But so what?
Is he right? Well, have a look at this. 3 days before the Rhode Island fire, there was a nightclub fire you didn't hear about. This is Minneapolis. There were pyrotechnics on stage, an inferno in the ceiling, and 150 people inside. But no one was hurt. The club had sprinklers. Compare to Rhode Island. Why were there no sprinklers here? Well, the Rhode Island Club was built before they were required. But even today, Rhode Island does not require sprinklers in clubs that hold 300 people or fewer. And it's not just Rhode Island. It turns out this 300-person exemption is common in much of the country. It's widely adopted in part because it's found in one of the Bibles of fire codes, written by an outfit called the National Fire Protection Association. The NFPA was set up more than 100 years ago by fire officials and insurance companies, but today its membership has expanded to thousands that also include building contractors, building owners, architects, even sports promoters and churches. In short, just about anyone who has an interest in how buildings are built and how much they cost. The NFPA codes fill volumes with standards for everything, ranging from high-rise evacuations to safely serving flaming crepe Suzette. And in the middle of it all, there is this, the code that requires sprinklers only in clubs with more than 300 patrons. Jim Shannon is the president of the NFPA.
Everyone we talk to says that your code is state-of-the-art, best there is. So how did you come up with the idea that it's okay to leave 300 people in a building without sprinklers, but 301's too many?
Our codes are written by committees of experts who are drawn from all over the country, and they determine what the appropriate thresholds are, what the appropriate provisions are.
Shannon told us that he doesn't know the technical justification for the 300 rule, so we went to one of those experts he mentioned. Jake Pauls sits on the committee that set the standard.
Where does that number come from, 300?
I wish I knew.
Pauls is an expert in building safety who pushes for tougher standards at the NFPA.
There isn't a scientific study that says 300 is what we need. In fact, the whole field of building safety there's a dearth of science and technology there.
It almost seems like that number was pulled out of thin air.
Well, sometimes on the committee we talk about that. We hope that what we do, it goes slightly beyond that. In other words, we're not throwing darts at a wall and arbitrarily choosing numbers. They are judgment calls.
No one at NFPA could cite a study that supports the 300 rule, but they told us it appears to be based on the idea that a building holding 300 is considered small, so people, in theory, can get out.
Let me quote some statistics that your organization came up with. In homes, sprinklers lower deaths by 75%. In hotels, sprinklers lower deaths by 91%. And in fact, the NFPA did a study that looked at 9 years of fires in assembly-type buildings, and no one was ever killed in a building that was sprinklered and had an operating sprinkler system. What does that tell you?
We support sprinklers. I think it is important, however, that we look at all of the elements of fire safety when we're devising our codes, and that's what we do.
Shannon stuck close to the NFPA message, saying that the code works, and it was violations of that code that were responsible for the Rhode Island fire.
They ignored the codes when they put those flammable and combustible materials on the walls. They ignored the codes when they used the pyrotechnics display.
Aren't sprinklers, though, a hedge against other things going wrong, against people doing things that are just plain stupid?
Well, NFPA is a big advocate of sprinklers, and wherever the people who sit on our code committees, the experts, feel that sprinklers are required, we require them.
And yet, if you've got 299 people in a building, they don't get sprinkler coverage.
Well, NFPA is a strong advocate for sprinkler use, but it would be a mistake to think that that is the only answer.
It seems difficult to think that this number has just floated along year after year after year with no basis in science and no one looking at it to ask themselves, isn't this too many?
I think these are good questions. One could say there's a lot of blame to go around here. You could attach some blame to the committee, perhaps. Say, well, the committee should have known better. Maybe it's a matter of the local jurisdiction saying the 300 wasn't adequate.
A few local jurisdictions, local fire departments, believe that it is not adequate. Floyd Jordan, the fire chief in Miami Beach, Florida, worries about the 60 nightclubs in his town.
Well, we have to enforce the code. We cannot require sprinklers where the code does not say you have to require sprinklers.
Miami Beach follows the NFPA code and the 300 rule for clubs. So to make up for the lack of sprinklers, Jordan enforces what may be the toughest inspection program in the nation. Fire inspectors check every club every weekend. We went along with George Barrero and his partner Isabel Ochoa on their rounds from midnight to 4 a.m.
168 in, 24 out.
They check the number of patrons in every club, and when there are too many, they bar the door. One club boasts a floor covered in real grass, so the inspectors make sure that the lawn is well tended.
The grass gets changed every Monday, and it's wet to the touch.
Every night we make them wet it down, so they don't have any accidental fire by anybody dropping a cigarette.
In this place, the manager hung new drapes. He said they were fireproof, but Miami Beach puts all fabrics to the test. The drapes didn't burn. If they had, Barrero says that he would have pulled them down on the spot. The inspections are thorough, but still, Chief Jordan would like to see something more.
When you heard about Rhode Island,
Yes.
what did you think?
If certain fire safety systems were in that building, there's a realization that probably there would not have been a single loss of life. And basically what I'm talking about are sprinkler systems.
You believe with all your heart that if there had been a sprinkler system in that building, there would have been very little loss of life.
Yes, I do.
And yet, it is not...
I question whether there would have been any loss of life.
You don't think anybody would have been killed?
I question it, yes, I do.
Time to change the code?
I would dare say that the majority of the fire chiefs in this country would say yes.
Later this month, the National Fire Protection Association is to hold a rare emergency meeting. Among the issues they'll discuss is whether the 300-person sprinkler threshold is too high.
60 Minutes 2 continues in a moment. You can log on to cbsnews.com to learn how to protect yourself in a fire.
CBS Market Watch Update, sponsored by Citracel Caplets.
Good evening. The Fed says war worries are slowing consumer spending, but fears of terror have boosted sales of duct tape. Bargain hunting touched off a modest rally on Wall Street, and the new Treasury Secretary today lent his signature to America's currency. It'll soon say snow on your dough. I'm Anthony Mason, CBS News.
For years, we made excuses not to take fiber for regularity.
Mixing an extra drink that's gloppy and can cause excess gas.
Now there's something different.
New Clear Mix from Citracel.
Unflavored fiber specially designed to mix completely into your favorite drink.
Like the juice you drink anyway.
So now it's easy to take fiber the way you like.
And the fiber in Clear Mix won't cause excess gas.
At last, fiber we don't mind taking.
New Clear Mix from Citracel. Unflavored fiber you mix in whatever drink you like.
More business news at cbsmarketwatch.com.
We make products that work in your home. We wait until we've got a product that's better than what's out there, that the consumer can see the difference in. Then we'll go to market. It's the duty to our heritage, and it's a duty to our consumer. I'm certain that what we are doing now not only will go into the next generation, but the generation after that.
S.C. Johnson, a family company.
This is crabgrass. I don't want to see crabgrass in my lawn.
My wife actually hates crabgrass.
Nobody would want this nail lawn. We put down Scott's turf filter with Halts in the early spring.
That's the only thing I ever use. Scott puts this protective barrier over the lawn.
And it stops the crabgrass from germinating.
See how nice and thick that is?
Feels like the carpet inside my house. Well, I've used the cheap brands. And it's like anything else. You get what you pay for. Steve doesn't have any crabgrass, which makes him a good human being, basically. Turf filter with Halts. The best defense against crabgrass.
Hello? This is Mr. Johnson. I want you to cancel the Serta sale.
Cancel the Serta sale?
You heard me.
What do I tell the people who need a Serta to get to sleep?
Tell them to count sheep.
You'll feel the difference the moment you lie down. Serta, we make the world's best mattress. Go to Serta.com to learn more about Serta mattresses and to get your very own Serta counting sheep.
We were out here trying to be the first women to trek across Antarctica when I hurt my shoulder.
For Explorer Anne Bancroft,
Finding pain relief became a priority.
I talked to my doctor at base camp, and he prescribed Celebrex.
Celebrex targets a major source of acute pain. Celebrex helps provide strong pain relief. Ask your doctor about Celebrex. Check with your doctor before resuming activities. People with aspirin-sensitive asthma or allergic reactions due to aspirin or other arthritis medicines, or certain drugs called sulfonamides, should not take Celebrex. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have kidney or liver problems.
Who'd have thought something this small would turn out to be one of my most important pieces of equipment?
If you're experiencing acute pain, ask your doctor about Celebrex or call 1-888-CELEBREX.
Are you paying too much for shipping? Priority Mail Service is dependable delivery starting at just $3.85. Maybe that's why we deliver more business packages than any two-day service. Priority Mail from the United States Postal Service.
We've heard from the president, from the protesters, from the generals, and even from Saddam Hussein about the war. But what about the men who will actually have to fight it? The soldiers down in the ranks, who will end up fighting and dying on the front lines. We haven't heard much from them. Tonight, you will. Recently, we got a rare glimpse of American soldiers preparing for war. Our cameraman spent 2 days and 2 nights living in the Kuwaiti desert with the men of Bravo Company of the 3rd Battalion, 15th Infantry Regiment. They led us into their tents and into their lives round the clock. Some of what they had to say was surprising and surprisingly candid. It's at night, away from the blazing sun of the desert and the glowering eyes of officers, when soldiers let down their guard.
And that's game, ladies.
In a group, they act lighthearted. Alone, each can reveal his true feelings.
I miss my family. It's the little things you miss. You know, it's real lonely out here, especially sleeping in the cold. It's real lonely.
Specialist Sean Pike from Hermitage, Tennessee, is 24 years old.
What scares you the most about the possibility of conflict? I heard some guys talk about chemical weapons.
To tell you the truth, I've been well trained in my 3 years in the military, and the only thing that really scares me is guys above me, as far as officers way above me, using me as just a tool and getting me into situations that's going to be unable for no matter how well trained I am to get out of it.
Specialist David Cruz is 28 years old, married with children. This is his second tour of duty.
I was in the military for 3 years, and I got out, and I came back in just after September 11th. I came back in with the idea that there's a possibility I might go to war.
How old are you? When did you join in?
The journalist conducting these interviews is Jeff Newton. We asked him to join up with some U.S. troops and to become a fly on the wall with his home video camera to try and get inside the lives of a U.S. Army company.
How did it work? What did you do and how did you do it?
We'd take these little miniature DV cams and we'd go out and we'd sit by the light of a Humvee, or we'd put headlights on our little camping headlights on our heads, and we'd stand really close to the soldiers and we'd light them up the best we could, and we'd just roll the camera and hold it up to our chest and try to keep them in the frame the best we could, and we'd just say, tell us what you know.
Newton spent 2 days and 2 nights in and among the 200 or so men of Bravo Company in mid-January. By then, these men had been living in the desert for 4 months. Newton followed them through every step of their day and night. He was with them when they trained. He was with them when they relaxed.
And you don't mess around with Jim.
And he was with soldiers like Sean Pike in their quieter moments to hear their thoughts.
Out here, we're training to defend the United States and all its policies, regardless if they're right or wrong. And all these soldiers beside me basically feel the same way. We're going to defend this country, hopefully not to our death, but if so, or if it may be, it will be. Just, I don't know. It's, I think we're doing a good thing out here.
In fact, Pike and Bravo Company expect to be among the first American soldiers into Iraq if war begins. That is what they are thinking about all the time. And when the time comes, Platoon Sergeant Chris Ogawa says, he will be motivated by an old creed he heard years ago from his sergeant when he was a private.
A man who has no patriotic feeling is a miserable creature and has no chance of being free unless made and kept so by the exertions of better men than himself.
This day was Ogawa's 40th birthday.
It's just another day for you.
Just another day. Anniversaries, birthdays, Christmases, New Year's, I mean, they all add up. But it's just part of being a soldier.
Whoa. The first day of training documented by Newton began with soldiers attacking and then taking an Iraqi trench.
Looking good, looking good.
Whoa. The assault was practiced without live ammunition for their own safety. In the afternoon, they did it all over again, this time firing away. Once inside the trench, they trained to hold on to it and turn back any counterattack. Every once in a while, these men, training to be combat killers, turned into boys having fun. When you see them close up, you get a real sense of just how young so many of them are. And like Private Ben Carter from Tacoma, Washington, a lot of them never finished high school.
So I'm 18, just got out of the house, and I'm making new friends and stuff.
His Army buddies probably want Private Carter next to them in battle. He hit 39 out of 40 targets the last time he was at the shooting range.
I love Kuwait.
And Carter is not only the company sharpshooter, but also the company clown. He loves showing off his Arnold Schwarzenegger imitation.
I'm Mr. Universe 7 years in a row. I do Terminator, the Predator. Beat up Sylvester Stallone any day.
The men of Bravo Company repeated during night drills what they had practiced all day. First without live ammunition.
They're coming!
Then with the real thing. When training stopped for a moment, their challenge turned from firing at targets to capturing a mouse.
Whoa! The mouse.
It was well past midnight when they finally got some rest. After 4 hours of sleep, it was time to begin a new day with a hot breakfast. Then training started all over again. Out here, even shaving is part of the training.
It's a little cold out here with the wind. Sometimes you don't want to try to shave early in the morning. Freezing.
Private Sean Henton is 23 years old, married with 2 children, living in Hinesville, Georgia.
They talk about the reason it's important is because if you guys ever have to go to gas masks and all that stuff.
Yeah, your mask won't seal properly if you are not shaving. Chemical, that's a scary thing, you know. I mean, there's not too much you can do about it, you know.
The war games of Bravo Company on Newton's second day were a replay of the first and repetitious of the weeks before. All happening here 20 miles from the Iraqi border at Camp New York, named after 9/11. The reason many of these men enlisted in the first place.
After 9/11 happened, I really didn't have anything to do. I was thinking about what I could do for my country instead of what they could do for me. And I was like, I might as well get out and do something with my life, so I went and joined the Army. 22, 23, 24.
Private Michael Coffey from Green River, Wyoming is 18 years old. He considers himself religious, and reporter Newton asked if his strong faith would get in the way of firing his weapon.
I believe there's a God. I believe in him, and I'm a Christian. I really don't have any view on that, but if he decides that what I'm doing is wrong, I go to hell, then so be it.
Specialist David Cruz believes just as strongly in a theme repeated often around the camp that Saddam Hussein must be defeated.
And the guy that's there needs to be taken care of. If we don't do it, who is? And if we don't do it now, when are we? You know, obviously he's not ready for us right now. I think it'd be a good time to go. But it's not up to me. You know, I'll do what I always do. I train for war and I pray for peace.
But what we also heard in these quiet moments were reservations about the war.
I feel
from
that,
Specialist Sean Pike.
Sometimes I feel maybe we're not going about it the right way. I don't think we should be over here pushing ourselves around, because I do think we do that as the United States sometimes. I think we are a very cocky country. We're a very arrogant country, and we're a very self-centered country.
As ready as Pike is to question U.S. policy, he also says he thinks it's the only option we have to fight terrorism, and he leaves no doubt when asked his thoughts about his country.
I can sum that up real easy. Every time the American flag goes up, I cry. Every time. I salute and a tear will roll down my eyes every time. This is my country, and no matter what happens, it's always been my country.
Who carries ammunition? Exactly 1 month after reporter Newton left Bravo Company, we went to see for ourselves how the men were holding up. They had been here longer than expected. We were hearing that some of the soldiers were getting restless. Specialist David Springer, a 27-year-old who grew up in Florida, had a typical soldier's complaint.
They really don't have a lot of stuff for us to do, so they got to come up with some stupid stuff. But we've been training for the last 4 months, and everything's getting redundant. Repetitive.
You check his pockets.
Before meeting us on this day, Springer and his squad had been practicing how to take a fallen prisoner.
Nobody can resist the eye thump. Come up. We'll thump him right in the eyes. He's gonna move.
Training, they told us, was becoming more tedious. The desert was getting hotter. Time was working against them. They will never be more ready than now. President Bush knows it. So does Mike Christian, a 20-year-old private from Earl, Texas, who told us the worst thing about being here.
Probably the heat and extensive training, probably. Heat and extensive training, just training going on and on and on.
Dragging us out way too long.
I didn't hear the first part of that.
I think it's just taking too much time, and I wish they'd make up their mind. Sounds like they're indecisive yet. There's always resolutions, and we just need to take that step and get this done, because I believe it's inevitable.
Private Jason Deal wants no more talk of war, but the real thing. Well, I'll make sure I understand, so you'd rather go now.
I know the American people are ready. I just don't know if our chiefs of staff are ready, but we're ready. So I'd rather go now.
29-year-old Jason Deal from Las Vegas, Nevada, is the best trained private in Bravo Company. That's because he spent 4 years as a U.S. Marine. He got out and went to college for a while, and then came back into the Army expecting to fly helicopters. Instead, he was sent here.
I love America, and I'm just proud to be here. And I would die for my country in a heartbeat.
Specialist Springer says he enlisted in 1999 because Army pay and insurance were better than he was getting as a roofer. But with Army benefits come battlefield risks, and Springer has written his family a goodbye letter, just in case.
You know, letters like that are always a very personal thing, but would you mind sharing with me what you said?
I wrote one to each one of mine. I wrote one to my wife and one for each one of my boys. Which at the time, one of my boys wasn't even born. He was born in December. So. What I wrote to my wife was that I love her. That stick close to pavement.
I'd like to tell my family I love them, and I hope to see you in a better place someday.
Have you discussed that with them?
I haven't, never discussed that, but I plan on writing letters to people, like a death letter, just in case something does happen.
Just in case?
Because I can't predict anything. I'm just 2 feet, running north.
If you have acid reflux disease, you know about the burning pain of heartburn.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus. And even if your heartburn symptoms aren't severe, the damage can be.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
I didn't know.
Your doctor knows about the purple pill called Nexium. For many people, just one prescription Nexium a day provides complete 24-hour day and night heartburn relief.
Complete heartburn relief.
And Nexium can heal even severe acid reflux erosions. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and a free trial offer from Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with the purple pill called Nexium.
Gotta be me. Whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong, whether I find a place in this world or never belong, I've got to be me. I've got to be me. What else can I be but what I am? I've got to be me.
There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard, except that everywhere dogs are.
60 Minutes 2, a CBS News magazine, continues in a moment.
Vote for your favorite Star Search performers, live CBS Friday.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Hughes. Here's what we're working on for the news at 11. Get ready. We have more snow on the way, another storm moving in, and tonight, Mish Michaels has details on just how much we'll get tomorrow. Also, we've uncovered new clues in the nightclub investigation. See what search warrants now reveal. Join Joe and me for the news at 11.
Today, every story is a local story, and events that happen over there affect you right here in Boston. Rely on CBS Evening News and WBZ-4.
The heart of jazz is improvisation. It's got to come from you. Jazz is a byproduct of the American experience. You've got to be free. Free to create.
TIAA Craft manages money for Ellis Marsalis.
Jazz, that's what I think about.
TIAA Craft, managing money for people with other things to think about. Log on to learn more.
Try the scallopini, Genie. More mozzarella, Bella. Share the marinara, Sarah. Everybody eats when they come to our house. Dig all those mussels, Russell. Eat some bruschetta, Etta. Brick ovens, flamin', Raymond. Everybody eats when they come to our house.
Come eat at our house, Bertucci's.
Look, make a wish.
I wish tonight would never end.
Me too.
Hi there. Can you folks get up now, please? Thank you.
The new Mohegan Sun. Come play.
Ever go for a loan and get treated like a math equation? And if you don't fit the mold, adios. Spend 10 minutes with someone who will listen. Call 1-800-CHAMPION. Champion Mortgage works with homeowners one-on-one. You can save $300, $400, $500 a month. You're not debt, you're not income, you're a person.
Dave, I'm glad we could help.
Hey.
For a no-obligation free consultation, call 1-800-CHAMPION and see just how competitive our rates are. Champion says yes.
WBZ-4 News. WBZ means news.
Osama bin Laden may still be at large, but the man captured in Pakistan last Saturday was even more important than bin Laden in the planning and execution of the September 11 attacks. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was apprehended in his pajamas just before dawn in a suburban home near the Pakistani capital of Islamabad. The Americans will have many questions for him because, as we first reported last fall, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was not only the mastermind of 9/11, but America's most lethal enemy for more than a decade. Just how important he was in the campaign to bring America to its knees only started to dawn on U.S. investigators last spring. It was around that time that a reporter for the Arabic news channel, Al Jazeera, was summoned to Pakistan for a meeting with the men on the inside. The sweltering streets of Karachi, where last June reporter Yusri Fouda was being driven blindfolded. He'd been invited to Karachi by Al-Qaeda. That's all he knew.
I didn't have a clue who I was being led to. I didn't have a clue where I was being led.
There were several changes of cars. Then Fouda was taken up a flight of stairs and into an apartment.
Somebody started taking my blindfolds away. I opened my eyes and I realized I was only half a meter away from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, a Kuwaiti of Pakistani descent. Before he was seized last Saturday, Mohammed, shown here moments after his arrest, had only been interviewed once in his life. His meeting with Yusri Fouda was his first and almost certainly his last with a reporter.
Immediately, Khalid introduces himself as head of the military committee of Al-Qaeda.
Did that surprise you?
It did not surprise me, it stunned me. That committee actually was the arm of Al-Qaeda which decided, first of all, according to Khalid, to strike America inside America and to eventually choose the targets which were actually hit on September 11th.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had his own name for 9/11, Holy Tuesday, and Mohammed admitted that he'd come up with the idea of the attacks himself.
And developed it, planned for it, recruited for it, and executed it.
It sounds from what you're saying that bin Laden is the chairman of the board and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is the executive officer. He gets things done.
Very much so.
Therefore, he's the man.
That's right.
When Fouda's blindfold was removed, he saw that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was not the only man in the room. Sitting in the corner was Ramzi bin al-Shib, Mohammed Atta's Hamburg roommate. Unlike Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, bin al-Shib was ready to do an interview for broadcast. This is the voice of a 9/11 conspirator. Bin al-Shib told Fouda he was proud of the attacks and had no regrets whatsoever.
They take pride in the fact that it was very creative too. Ramzi himself said it bluntly, that they would like to be credited for this.
Most of the credit, as they call it, must go to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who has a decade-long history of terrorizing Americans. Intelligence sources tell us it was Mohammed who directed the first World Trade Center bombing, as well as a 1995 plot to down a dozen American airliners in the Pacific and crash a plane into the CIA headquarters. His operative in those plots was his own nephew, Ramzi Yusuf. But those attacks failed for the most part, and Yusuf was captured in Pakistan and put behind bars in the United States. But Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, not a trace. A master of disguises, he traveled the world unnoticed. Then in 1996, word suddenly reached the FBI that Mohammed was in the Gulf state of Qatar. The FBI acted quickly.
We sent a team of FBI agents from this country with the cooperation of the government of Qatar to bring him back.
The FBI's Neil Herman had headed the Bureau's investigation of the '93 World Trade Center bombing, and he was desperate to capture Mohammed in Qatar.
For whatever reason, it still remains a mystery. He found out that the team was en route and the rendition was unsuccessful. Unfortunately, our best opportunity was missed.
After you tried to get him in Qatar and failed, do you think he sort of slipped through the cracks?
He fell off the table. He disappeared for years, never to be heard from again until September 11th.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had escaped, but with his nephew Ramzi Yusuf serving a life sentence, Mohammed needed a new blueprint and a new master terrorist, someone who could finish the job.
You need a perfectionist if you are playing with America. And I think Khalid, for these reasons, was lucky to find someone like Atta with these qualities and at the same time with a lot of black smoke inside him.
The smoke appeared in Hamburg, Germany, where Mohammed Atta was in college. He grew a beard to show solidarity with Muslim fundamentalists. He was looking for a cause. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was looking for a candidate. It was a perfect match. Atta was recruited by al-Qaeda at Hamburg's El-Quds Mosque, hidden in this nondescript building. By November 99, Atta and 2 other future pilots were sent to Afghanistan to an elite al-Qaeda camp. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and his lieutenants had drawn up a new plan for America, a plan he shared with our consultant, Yusri Fuda.
The first thing that jumped into their minds, according to Khalid, was striking at a couple of nuclear facilities in America. That, according to him, was later taken off the list for fear it might get out of hand.
What does that mean, get out of hand?
I did ask, what do you mean? He said, we didn't want to take much risk. He just said, we decided not to consider this for now.
For now?
For now.
Instead, the operation would strike at symbols of America's military, political, and economic power. When Atta arrived in New York in June 2000, he carried with him a report on potential targets made by reconnaissance teams Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had sent to the U.S. a year earlier.
The White House at that time was on the list, but one of the reconnaissance units went back and recommended that it should be taken out of the list for navigation reasons.
The White House was too difficult to hit. The Capitol took its place. At the top of the list, the site Khalid Sheikh Mohammed wanted to revisit with a vengeance, the Twin Towers. His new plan took elements of the '93 World Trade Center bombing and mixed them with the failed '95 operation to use American airliners as weapons.
He said that during that meeting of his committee, they decided that the goal was to cause as many deaths as possible, to direct a big slap to America on American soil in front of the world.
To deliver the slap, the terrorists learned how to fly in Florida. Now it was time to choose the hijackers, the guys who would actually take over the planes.
About 5 months before the 0 hour, the foot soldiers, or so-called muscles, were chosen.
Chosen by?
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed mainly. He said that his problem actually was the opposite. He had too many volunteers.
With more than a dozen Saudis now on the team to serve as the muscle, Atta flew to a Spanish coastal resort in mid-July. It was a short working vacation. Atta met his old Hamburg roommate, Ramzi bin al-Shib, who had a message from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. The final date for the operation was in Atta's hands. A month later, the phone rang in bin al-Shib's Hamburg apartment at 3 a.m. It was Atta calling from Florida with an important but cryptic message.
Atta goes 2 sticks, a dash, and a cake with a stick down. That was the 0 hour. 2 sticks, the number 11, a dash is a dash, and a cake with a stick down is the number 9.
The 11th of September, bin al-Shib scrambled, leaving Hamburg for Pakistan. From there, he sent a messenger into Afghanistan with news for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Tuesday, September 11, would be the day. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and bin al-Shib told Fuda they were actually disappointed by the results of 9/11. They had hoped for a much higher death toll. Ironically for bin al-Shib, the end also came on September 11. Exactly a year to the day after the 9/11 attacks, he was arrested in Karachi. His voice on the audio-taped interview with Fuda had been matched to a phone call. The arrest tightened the noose. And last Saturday morning, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed received a wake-up call. At 3:30 a.m., Pakistani agents with help from American intelligence stormed into his hiding place and caught the mastermind of 9/11. Osama bin Laden may still be at large, but al-Qaeda may never be the same.
And now by the authority vested in...
So young, naive. I bet they don't have a clue. Or that insurance.
What insurance? The one that pays you cash if you're sick and can't work. What one's that? The name is...
Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Honey, have you seen my lean pockets?
Lean pockets? Really crispy. Now with a tastier, crispier crust. Still only 7 grams of fat.
No, dear, I haven't seen your lean pockets anywhere.
Really?
Lean Pockets brand new, tastier, crispier crust.
Moving freely makes my spirits soar.
Discover new Flexium, a unique supplement for joint health.
I feel wonderfully carefree with less stiffness.
Flexium works in 2 ways. Only Flexium combines a patented form of SAM-E to help ease pain from everyday activities, plus natural building blocks that help renew cartilage. You can feel results in as little as 2 weeks. Feel the Flexium difference in your joints. Guaranteed.
You're quitting? You are my hero. Oh, why Nicoderm CQ?
I'm not a superhero.
You can wear Nicoderm CQ 16 hours during the day or 24 hours to get a jump on morning cravings. You decide. Nicoderm CQ.
A baby held hostage. This is reality TV.
You gotta give me one.
I can't do that right now.
Oh, man.
Stay on the ground! 48 hours next.
Harry Smith, Hannah Storm, Julie Chen, Renee Seiler. Wake up to the year's fastest growing network morning news program, The Early Show.
Thursday. There's a girl missing.
Get into the show more people are watching every week.
The sooner we get a profile, the more we're gonna know.
The hit drama, Without a Trace, Thursday after CSI.
We see a mom and a CEO. We see Teacher of the Year. We see 400 employees in 3 years. A 23-city tour. We see the toughest reservation in town. And you, reaching for the stars. At Microsoft, we stand in awe of you and your potential. It's what inspires us to create software that helps you reach it.
Her mom gets cancer. They find the tumor early. Her mom is okay.
Or her mom gets cancer. She's diagnosed too late. Her mom is gone.
When you're uninsured, life turns out differently.
41 million Americans without health insurance. 8 out of 10 are in working families. Now, organizations are coming together for Cover the Uninsured Week.
Join us March 10th through 16th. Get involved.
And help get America covered.
Snow's coming, but how much? At 11.
Now, a few minutes with Bill Geist.
Napoleon said an army travels on its stomach, which means soldiers are only as good as their food. Here at Kaufman's Army-Navy store in New York, they still have all the terrible things I had to eat in Vietnam. Tuna fish, turkey loaf, and scrambled eggs, powdered. Just add water and serve. Cold. You may remember, we lost that one. We're not about to lose in Iraq. Our soldiers over there use laser-guided weapons, palm computers, and these high-tech MREs, meals ready to eat. The presentation could be improved, but look at this. Steak with mushrooms, spices, gum, little beef jerky, heat-stabilized Tootsie Rolls. That sounds good. And this amazing little device that heats the food. Today's soldier now has 24 entree choices, including cheese tortellini, pasta alfredo, jambalaya served with lemon poppy seed pound cake, and wild rice pilaf. There are vegetarian meals, kosher meals, chicken with cavatelli. I'm not even sure what cavatelli is. It's amazing. Does the sergeant read the specials of the day? And when he yells, "Move out," do the soldiers say, "Give me a minute to finish my latte"? It's almost enough to make you volunteer. What next? Chardonnay and combat wine stewards? But don't worry, our fighting forces aren't getting wimpy. It's just that with an all-volunteer army, the awful army food had to get better. And having more women in the military probably helps. You know how men eat when left to their own devices. They're animals. Now that it's developed hot, savory food that lasts for years and can be dropped out of an airplane, the Department of Defense Operational Rations Research Lab are working on bioengineered vitamin-fortified peanut butter.
It's really good, though. It is. If I liked it.
And candy bars with biomarkers that allow us to electronically track those who eat them. And the most amazing research being done is on a transdermal patch like this nicotine patch that delivers nutrition. Food. Think of it. Instead of cooking or going to a restaurant, you just slap on one of these. Just like Mother used to make. I think I'll have a beer with that.
In the mail this week, hundreds of letters about our interview with Saddam Hussein. A lot of the mail was negative, and some of it said doing the interview was unpatriotic. What a joke of an interview. Did you honestly think that Saddam would answer truthfully? And this, in allowing your network to pander for prime-time ratings, you showed respect to a madman and gave his rantings credibility. About objections to broadcasting the interview without a White House spokesman in it, there was this. Does the White House think that somehow listening to Saddam will make us supporters of him? And several letters were like this. The more information we have, the easier it is to see the truth or realize who is lying the most. I'm Dan Rather. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes 2. Next here on CBS, 48 Hours Investigates. Here's Leslie Stahl.
Tonight, we have reality TV with the highest stakes. A hostage situation, and there's a baby inside.
I get a baby.
You'll feel the pressure.
How about give me one person?
I can't do that right now.
Oh, man.
On the brink of a rescue or a disaster.
All right, let me hear your plans.
48 Hours Investigates, next.
Good morning. Before we start, if everyone could move page 15 2 pages up in the deck. And if your page 5 is fuzzy, just pass it down.
Unprofessional documents.
Page 8.
Lead to messy meetings.
Just remove it.
But at Staples, you'll get professional quality copying and printing. Our certified associates and 3-step quality process make sure your job is done right.
And this goes up.
Quality copying and printing. Staples. That was easy.
Got a dry, scratchy throat? Try new Hall's Fruit Breezers with a mouth-watering fruit tingle that gives your throat a cooling lift anytime. New Hall's Fruit Breezers. Treat your throat.
Sunday, see why this family is now TV's #1 most-watched new comedy.
I'm sorry, you're having sex. We'll be back in 4 minutes.
My Big Fat Greek Life. Then the rumors are flying.
Becker's got all kinds of drugs in his apartment.
Becker's a druggie.
I was right, he's a drug addict.
Who the hell is this?
Whoops, wrong number.
A brand new Becker, right after My Big Fat Greek Life, CBS Sunday.
For news 24 hours a day, go to cbsnews.com. AOL keyword CBS News.
One unsuspecting angel must face a familiar devil.
Monique.
It's good versus evil.
You are Monica, right? I am Monica.
Touched by an Angel, CBS Saturday.
Holy reunion movie. Adam West and Burt Ward together again?
Holy henchman, Adam.
flashback to the original Batman TV show.
What's so strange about two guys who run around in tights and live together?
And find out what went on when the costumes came off.
Has anybody seen my bat suit?
Return to the Batcave, CBS Sunday.
Experience CBS News.